Yeah, you're not the vice chair anymore.
I am the chair. So we're ready to begin. And Megan, do you want to just quickly go through the review as far as Zoom meeting and etiquette and things like that?
Sure thing. So please note, as this is a public meeting, this meeting is being recorded and will be posted to the City of Beaverton's website. Minutes are still being taken. Please make sure that you are muted unless you are the active speaker. Attendees are automatically muted. For any quick comments, you can hold your spacebar to unmute and release the spacebar to become muted again. If you have any problems with muting or unmuting, feel free to send a message. I can help out with that as well. Please be aware of items in your video's background, which could be offensive or distracting to others. You can select the virtual background in the drop-down list next to the video icon. For our attendees, you can type your questions in the question and answer chat. All questions will be addressed during the public comment time on the schedule. If you would prefer, you can also click the raise hand button to ask your question directly, and we'll make sure to come around to you as soon as we are able to. For attendees who are joining by phone, you can raise your hand by typing *9, and if we have multiple people waiting to speak, the order of who will be speaking will be put in the chat box. You are welcome to have open discussion in the chat function at the bottom of your screen, but please be aware that the chat does become public record. I will be monitoring the chat, so feel free to let me know if you have any technical difficulties that I can help troubleshoot for you.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Megan. So we'll call the meeting to order and want to first start by welcoming Amy Browning, who's going to be our youth liaison. She's coming from the Mayor's Youth Advisory Board. So welcome to our first meeting with you. Anything you'd like to maybe do a quick introduction of yourself and things that you're interested in with the board?
Sure thing. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really excited to be here. I'm the co-chair of MYAB this year, and I haven't been a youth liaison on a board before, so this is a new experience for me. And I'm super excited to provide a youth perspective to the board and to be able to help out with any projects with youth in our community. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much, and we'll definitely tap in and be happy to have your input, and I think your perspective will be very helpful for the committee. Why don't we quickly go around and just have everybody else on the committee introduce yourself, maybe the part of the city where you live, and you can start with that. Who would like to go first? John, you want to kick off?
Sure. I'm John Vogler, and I'm a new member, and I am in the neighbor southwest area in the Murray Hill portion of Beaverton.
Great. Let's see, let's hear Michael.
Hi, I'm Michael Hashizume. I think this is my third year on the BAC, and I am in the central Beaverton area.
Terrific. Kara?
Hi, my name is Lerwick. I am unfortunately driving home from work still. Went a little late today, but I live in central Beaverton as well.
Terrific. Corey?
Hi, Corey McManus. I'm an ex officio, which means that I'm a representative from TriMet on the Beaverton Bike Advisory Committee. I've been on the committee for 2 years, but I think I've been on the same time as Michael, so maybe we have we both have the same false memory.
Oh, Caitlin.
Hello, I'm Caitlin Ahearn. I actually don't live in Beaverton. I live in Portland, but I do work in Beaverton. I worked for the city for a couple of years at City Hall, and then now I work for a nonprofit called the West Side Transportation Alliance, which also has its offices in City Hall, and we do a lot of transportation work in the area.
Terrific.
I'm also new. I started in January.
And Michael Dunlevy.
Hello, I'm Michael Dunlevy. I'm a Beaverton resident. I live in, I believe, south, maybe central, about a mile south of downtown. And ride to the Beaverton Transit Center on a daily basis under normal circumstances. And this is year number 2 for me.
Great. Hey, Amanda.
Hi, Amanda Koppel here. Well into my 2nd year on the committee. I live kind of around the Nike area, and I am your new vice chair.
And I'm Mike Mulligan. I'm now the chair, and I've been on the committee, I think, somewhere around 11 years. And I live down in the southwest portion of Beaverton, kind of the Murray Hill area. So I think, do we hit everybody, Gene?
No, I'm Israel Laureles.
Oh, Israel, sorry.
I know that's okay. I'm new this year as well. I live in Beaverton. I live kind of in between the Section Mountain Murray Hill area. So familiar with this area very well.
We're neighbors.
Yeah.
All right, so.
I'll introduce myself just
Jean,
so
yes.
since I'm here. Yeah, I'm Jean Senechal. I'm the staff liaison to the Bicycle Advisory Committee, and I'm the Transportation Planning Manager for the City of Beaverton. There's 2 other staff folks here, and I think it would be helpful just to have them introduce themselves.
Sure.
So let's have Bruce and then Kyung.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Bruce Barbarasch. I'm the Nature and Trails Manager for Tualatin Hills Park and Rec District. And I hope you all know that we serve the greater Beaverton area and parts of unincorporated Washington County. We manage about 50 miles worth of trails and about 200 different park sites. And I'm your liaison to the district, and I occasionally come and give you all updates and answer questions about things, and sometimes seek your input on trails or rules or things that we're working on that relate to bicycles. And I'm a regular bike commuter. In a typical year, I put more miles on a bike than a car, as far as I can tell.
Kyung?
Is Kyung Park. I'm with the City of Beaverton Events Program in the Mayor's Office. I'm a Central Beaverton resident at the moment, and I'm here tonight to just kind of be consulting for any event related or possibly like city coordinated things that might come up today. So.
Great. So I think now, Gene, we're ready for moving on to the September minutes. So if everybody's had a chance to look at them, or if you need a couple minutes, if you just want to raise a hand and then let me know when you're ready. So I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I move to approve the September minutes.
And a second.
Second.
All right. So we have motion and a second. Everyone that's approved, say aye.
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 Any nays? And I think everybody that's on the call was at the last meeting, so there wouldn't be any abstentions. Am I correct? Oh, it's real.
I was not here.
Okay, Israel. Then I think we were approved. So we're up to the point for the public comment. And I know, Bruce, you wanted to maybe share a little bit of what's going on with THPRD. And then Megan, is there anybody else out in the public that you want to bring in for any comments?
Looks like we have one attendee. Annie is back.
Okay.
So Annie, if you have any comments or anything, feel free to raise your hand or put it in the question and answer box and I can help you out.
All right, should I go ahead?
Go right ahead, Bruce.
Okay, great. First, thanks for having me. It's good to see a few familiar faces and hi to the new folks. Welcome. Just to give you a little context, I've worked in for the Park District in the Beaverton area for 20 plus years. So when you all are like, oh, I live in this neighborhood, I'm like, oh, I know that neighborhood. And so I really get around on a given day. I can be north of Highway 26. I can be in central Beaverton. I can be all the way down south near the Tigard side. And my news for you this week or this month covers all of that stuff. And I guess, I don't know if it's been a while since you all have had a meeting, or at least it's been a while since I've been here. So thanks for having me back. I'm going to start with the most general topic, which is e-bikes. A couple months ago, we started looking at our rules and regulations book, and we've had a number of comments from patrons saying, what about those e-bikes? Are they allowed? Are they not allowed? And our rules really don't specify. We don't allow gas-powered vehicles or bicycles or what have you, but e-bikes felt a little bit of a gray zone to us, and we've just been quietly talking to other agencies. We talked to our Nature and Trails Advisory Committee, and what we're hearing so far is that folks feel e-bikes are here to stay. They're a very legitimate way to get around, might bring in some new folks, and they should be regulated in a similar way to the way we might treat a bicycle. I'm wondering if you all would agree with that statement or if you have other input for us.
Completely agree. I'd add that during COVID, during the pandemic, I've known a few people who aren't cyclists who have gotten themselves an e-bikes and have been cycling like crazy and are very evangelical about them. So I think they're, a great addition to kind of the ecosystem of active transportation.
Neat, thank you.
I agree.
Any other thoughts?
I built a e-bike hub motor for my wife, and we've gotten a lot of great use out of it. And I just like people seeing, being on two wheels and support fully e-bikes on the trails.
Wonderful, thank you.
I like the idea that they allow people in situations where they may not be able to pedal a bicycle to continue to enjoy riding. So I would encourage them for that specific reason.
Awesome.
I remember, I think we had talked about this at another meeting. I don't remember if I was an official member or not, but we had talked about guidelines of like who gives way to who, and like having e-bikes added of like, it's another, I guess, because they can go faster or whatever. So
possibly, yes.
That was part
or at least
of
they can go faster more easily, right? Because it's a self-powered assist.
True. Speed up faster, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. We've gotten feedback all around just about etiquette and trying to figure out ways to educate people and enforce if needed. But mostly so far, it's been pretty much people said they mostly behave like bicyclists, traditional bicyclists. And if they go too fast, bicyclists go too fast sometimes too. But we still want everyone to kind of get along and be courteous where it's possible. So that helps me. Eventually, we're going to develop some kind of an education campaign, and I don't know if that's going to take the form of posters or people being out on the trails, or we're going to try and approach it in a positive fashion at any rate. Since it sounds like y'all are pretty unanimous on this one, I'm going to move forward to just a couple of trail updates. So our planning and our design and development staff have been very slowly trying to plan the Beaverton Creek Trail as it heads from near Hawken Boulevard and kind of central Beaverton over towards the Tualatin Hills Nature Park. And in order to get from point A to point B, there are a lot of private property places, and there are some kind of constriction points. And so I don't have a real specific update other than to say they've been working hard to try and get agreement among different landowners and find the best balance of what would be good for users and what would be good for the environment and what people will allow us to do who own or manage these properties. So at some point we will come back to you likely and say, hey, this is where we're at right now. We'd like feedback on this design, but we're a little bit too in advance of that. So just wanted to let you know it was in motion. One thing we actually did complete recently was about a half-mile new segment of trail. It's called the North Bethany Trail. I know it's outside the city of Beaverton, but some of you might ride it. And what it's neat about it is it adds a little bit more connectivity to a larger system. This trail is up north of Highway 26 near Stoller Middle School. It's close to the intersection of where the Rock Creek Trail and the West Side Trail come together. And it adds about another half-mile of 10-foot wide paved trail, ADA accessible, bikeable. And it takes folks all the way up north and connects to kind of the greater North Bethany area. So good transportation piece. And I see there's a question just popped up in the chat. I don't know if it was about.
So the question reads, recently public comment was taken about speed reduction from 40 to 35 miles per hour on Northwest 173rd Avenue between Walker and Cornell. I'm curious if the Bicycle Advisory Committee submitted comments or is able to submit comments on issues like these.
I feel like the question that's being asked or cited here about Northwest 173rd, I don't know if that's our jurisdiction to really decide. I think that's a county piece there, unless I'm not reading the question properly. Jean, do you know?
Yeah, no, I'd agree, and I'm just checking to see whose jurisdiction it is. So hold that thought, Annie, and we'll get back to you when we get to the comments. So yeah, Bruce, go keep going.
Okay. So that's 3 of 4 updates, and the last one is those of you who ride through Greenway Park on the Fano Creek Trail. I'm not sure if your city representatives have been keeping you apprised, but there's been a 5 agency discussion about how do we improve the crossing of the Fano Creek Trail as it goes from Beaverton into Tigard. And we just completed an engineering study, or a couple months ago, we completed an engineering study. There was a lot of public input. We got 500 comments about the crossing. And a majority of folks say they would like to see or are comfortable with an at-grade crossing of Shoals Ferry Road. It would be a signalized crossing. It would have a gentle approach and a gentle descent as it comes to the road. We don't have any funding for it, but we kind of have a better sense of what folks are looking for. And we're going to start looking for that funding. One thing we did find money for is to improve the undercrossing under Shoals Ferry. And that's something that we're actually in the permitting phase for. If you've been there before, you'll know that it's often, or at least surprisingly often, maybe not often, covered with water due to either high water from flooding or sometimes backups from beaver dams downstream. We're going to add about a foot of material to the undercrossing so that it's out of the water more often than it is right now. Downside is it lowers headroom. So we've been talking about the best way to make sure, in particular, cyclists know to dismount and don't end up with, having a problem with the low ceiling over their head. You'd have to be a pretty tall cyclist standing on your pedals to hit your head, but we still want to acknowledge that. And we think that with the improvements, the undercrossing will be accessible probably about like 75+% of the time, which is a big step up from what we are now. And then the last related piece to that is we do have an online water gauge where you can get a sense of, is it going to be dry under there? Is it possibly going to be wet, or is it definitely wet? And you can pick that up from our website on the Greenway Park webpage. And that's all I got unless folks have questions.
Bruce, I have a question about the undercrossing.
Sure.
It seems logical that we would just build a 1 or 2 foot high wall along the creek side of the
Yep.
undercrossing. And that would take care of the majority of the water encroachment. What was the rationale for elevating the trail versus just building a little wall?
Fair, very fair question. We did an analysis of about 4 or 5 different options, ranging from a boardwalk to a flood wall to something that kind of, I'll call it a temporary flood wall for lack of better words, or something that was concrete. And each one had a certain environmental impact. And each one also had sort of a functionality impact or a maintenance impact. What we found when we analyzed the flood wall in particular was that if water comes up and over the wall, it's really hard to get the water, and in particular the mud, out. And so when we balance adding material into a constricted part of a floodplain, which one was the easiest to maintain and which one would still be user-friendly, the raising the trail slightly versus building the wall and having to scoop mud pretty frequently out, won out. They both made some sense, just in different ways.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure, sure.
Any other questions for Bruce?
All right, well, thanks for having me. I'm going to hang out for a little while and hear what's going on. And at some point I may disappear, but I appreciate your time.
We greatly appreciate you coming, Bruce, and just let us know when you want to come and we'll make sure you're on the agenda. Thanks again.
Okay, Megan, I'm going to loop back to that question that we had from Annie. So thanks for raising that question, Annie. That stretch of 173rd between Walker and Cornell is a city street. The Bike Advisory Committee hasn't heard a presentation about the project, and they haven't been asked to provide comment. I can find out more myself and share it back with Mike and others, so they're aware of it. But I think that the short answer is they've not heard a presentation on it. But are they able to submit comments on projects, on issues like these? Absolutely. Projects and issues are something that this group can hear, and if they choose to weigh in, they're more than welcome to do that. So thanks for asking the question.
And thanks for joining our meeting again, Annie. Anybody else out there in the public that we need? Megan?
Not that I'm seeing.
All right. So we are on to our council liaison, and Lacey is not joined us yet to know what.
Yeah, she's not joined us yet. I sent her a message to find out if she'll be joining us, so haven't heard back. So I say we just go ahead, and if and when she arrives, we'll make a time for her on the agenda.
All right, we'll circle back around. So the next item up is our ride for honoring Adrian. So Jean, do you have the doodle results? And
I have the doodle. I can share it with all of you. So this is what we've, I emailed all of you about organizing this ride. I think at the last meeting we talked about having it sometime this month, but we wanted to have this meeting happen first so we could do sort of the last bit of planning around it. I sent out that doodle poll to find a time, and there's never, you hope when you do these, you hope that there's one time that works magically for everyone, but of course there isn't. So, but thank you for those of you who chimed in. Thank you for doing that. I don't know if is there anybody here this evening who didn't get a chance to do this that would like to, or that would like to chime in on a date? Because I'm seeing here that there's definitely sort of more folks available on Saturday the 17th, which is in about 10 days. But the time makes a difference to 2 people in our group. So I don't know, I'm gonna maybe look to our chair to help kind of facilitate this conversation and have us figure out when we do this. Is there anybody who didn't participate that wants to chime in when they're free, particularly if we're looking at the 17th?
I thought I'd filled
Not.
this out, but I guess not. But the 17th won't work for me anyway, so it's kind of a moot point.
Oh, okay. Okay. Were there, who was that, Michael? Who was that?
Yeah, sorry, that was Michael Hashizume.
Oh, okay. Are there other dates that work better for you?
Any of the other dates you proposed other than the 17th would be great.
Okay. 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 So yeah, so we have a tough decision to make. You know, I'll say, I know that when Mike and I talked about this, we wanted to do it in the morning, and that way it gives everyone the rest of their afternoon free. And then the thought is to just sort of make this be about an hour long. We'll meet at the Library Plaza and gather there, and then go on a ride following the Bike Beaverton route. Mike, do you know which route were you thinking of? And
I was thinking we just would do the
there.
traditional long route, so it's like 6 miles.
Perfect. Okay, great. Okay. Well,
let's see.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Negotiations.
Yeah, Mike, what do you want to do? Do you want to talk later?
That, or I would just open it up to anybody as far as if we were looking, since we had the majority of people around the 17th. As far as if there's any flexibility or any thoughts from others on what we might want to try to do on that 17th. If we were to do it at 10:30, would that make a difference for Amanda and Israel, or?
I can actually, for this is Israel, I could do it pretty much any time. The 17th or the 18th is fine.
Okay.
Okay.
So
maybe that lands us at the 11.
I'd aim
Thank
for
you.
the 11 o'clock on the 17th. It gives it time for it to warm up a little bit more, and let's.
Okay.
If people are agreeable to that, that looks like it might be the best, unfortunately, except for Michael Hashizume,
Right.
which we'd like to have you there. But
well, other things I'll share with you. So I have talked with folks in the mayor's office, and they plan on putting out a press release, and I'll meet with them in the next day or two to talk about what goes in that. But just to highlight our ride, highlight the work of the Bike Advisory Committee, and talk about the work that Adrian did. And I think specifically we've talked here about the work he did in leading our League of American Bicyclists city status. I forget what you call it. So we'll have that go out. We've already heard some interest from the Portland Tribune, and they want to write a story about this. So it's a nice opportunity to share the work that you all do. If any of you have thoughts after tonight that you want to share, please do. And then Mike, I may also have them reach out to you if you're comfortable with that,
Sure.
so we can chat more later on. Great. Okay, well, we'll make it a fun ride. We also want to, and I'll put together information in email. We do want to, be physically distanced. So when we gather, we'll kind of take some space in the plaza. We'll want everyone to wear masks. And then please wear, your whatever other safety gear you require, and helmets, of course. Any other thoughts on safety protocols? Any other questions you might have?
Yeah, if we're meeting on
chime in?
It's Amanda. If we're meeting on a Saturday, where will we meet that will make us distant from the farmer's market?
I think if we were out in front of the library itself,
Library.
if And I haven't been over there on a Saturday since COVID to know how many people go over there by the library. But if need to, we could also meet in the parking lots on the east side of the library.
I can provide some input. This is Kyung with the city.
Yeah.
So the farmers market is quite busy. It does pick up, I think, peak times like around 11 to 1-ish. That's when you'll see the most people. The east parking lot library is kind of turned into like a farmers market parking lot. So there is quite a bit of cars there. Maybe like Veterans Park, the one that's a bit further down, or if you had met like on the other side of Watson. So like, let's say you've already started the ride more towards Beaverton High School. There might just be a bit more, less like people walking around over there.
So those are a couple of options. Jane, so maybe finalize that before the press release goes out to where we would meet.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
one other thought would be just if you have a previous Bike Beaverton t-shirt, maybe wear that.
Okay.
What about the community center parking lot across 5th?
Right, that was another, it was crossing my mind.
Yeah, that would actually be a pretty good one.
Okay.
I don't see too many cars that actually park there for the farmers market, so.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, and it has a little bit more proximity to the library. You can simply just make a left turn out of that, right on the 5th, 6th, and just pick up the route at Erickson.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, great. Anything else we want to cover on that in terms of our plan? Okay.
I don't have anything unless others have something to share.
Great. Okay, well, I'll put information together and email it out to all of you. And we will see you there on the 17th.
Wonderful. Thanks for your help in getting that all organized.
Yeah, great.
So moving right along, number 2, strategic plan and action items. So I just want to share that. And
yeah, okay. I put together, oh, you can't hear me. Yes, you can. I put together a cleaned up version of those notes from the last time. Okay, and now you're seeing this list. Great. So I made a cleaned up version for us to talk about tonight, and I thought we could go through these. I'm trying to remember, did we make a separate item on the repair stations? We did. And how are we doing on time? We're well ahead of time, so that's good. So we left some time for the repair stations just because John had shared quite a bit of work. So here we go. So we had, I think there was about 5 or 6 different items. On this first one, Michael and I did meet with Leah from Beaverton School District today. Michael, do you want to share your notes? Do you want to lead this one in terms of the partnering with the school district on presentations about bikes for K-5 kids?
Sure thing. Let me pull those up. All right, so as of right now, the Beaverton School District has some videos on their website in order to show how to properly put the helmet, how to do the ABC quick check. I forget what the ABC stands for other than B is brakes. But, and then, how to pump your tires, how to properly inspect a safe route to school. But like one of them comes from a school district in North Carolina. One of the other videos is from ODOT and another is from the city of Bend. So they were hoping to have some videos made that would be Beaverton specific. So there's the safe route. I forget the term she used, but there's some safe route videos from the national organization. However, they're embedded, or not embedded, they're hosted on Vimeo, and the Beaverton School District website can only embed YouTube videos. I don't know if it's policy or technological, but they said that they're not able to access those videos. I mentioned that it's certainly a possibility to rip them off of Vimeo and then host them on YouTube, assuming there are no copyright issues. But they're just looking to add a couple videos with a local flavor to them. And that is what we discussed. Also, we discussed the traffic safety playground at Greenway Park. There were some basketball hoops where some paint-based chalk or chalk-based paint. I'm not familiar with it, having never used it before, but it's temporary, but it stays for a long while, and it is rain resistant. But so they use that to draw a mini roadway for practicing hand signals and learning proper riding etiquette, how to stop at a stop sign, how to turn into oncoming traffic. And they felt it worked really well, and they're looking for a potential permanent location for one of these. Apparently there are a lot of temporary ones in Portland right now that are very well received, but the gold standard right now is a permanent one in Seattle. And there's exploration being done for funding for a permanent one, but in the meanwhile, they are looking for assistance or advice on how and where to put some more temporary ones. So the pandemic, though, the immediate focus is on the remote resources so that people are able to make up for the fact that they can't have an assembly where they would share this kind of information in front of the entire school as they've done previously. And so Jean and I, and then anybody else on the committee interested in taking part, are looking to work to figure out which videos would be most beneficial and to put them together in a bilingual format, because a good amount of attendees in the Beaverton School District are English language learners. So with Spanish being spoken at home, we want to make sure that everyone is included. And a lot of the schools are dual language too. Yeah, that was the gist of the meeting. She forwarded some video ideas. So while Jean and I distill that, we are curious as to if anyone would be interested in joining us on this task. It's certainly.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, I would be willing to try to help in some manner. Just curious, or is there a thought to try to look at the ones that are from the national organization on Vimeo and then essentially replicate it with Beaverton as a background?
Yeah, I'm sure there'd be a lot of emulating existing videos and figuring out what works and what doesn't, maybe testing on an audience if anyone has young children that they could show the video to and potentially get some feedback.
Okay. And Kyung, is filming the videos, is that something the city is able to lend resources to or expertise?
We don't have like a full production studio or anything, but I think that's something, you know, we're kind of going towards. One thing I kind of want to highlight was sometimes when we're making these videos, it's not necessarily about getting the views, it's about actually engaging the public. The process of actually making the videos, even though like the reach might be less, like you're only reaching like 10 K through 5 writers, it might like funnel from there. So we are trying to like shift the value of that, the fact that we're creating the videos and engaging the public as an also value add versus trying to get thousands and thousands of views.
Okay.
It sounds like it would
question,
be,
Michael, as far as with these temporary locations for doing the safety garden, are there other city schools that they've identified? Or another thought that crossed my mind is with the limitation on group gatherings, whether any of the churches in the city, their lots are not being used, whether they'd be open to having something like that put down.
that's a good idea. Being out in Clatsop County right now during quarantine, I guess I'm not as familiar with what restrictions are happening in Washington County. I didn't know that churches were shut down, so that's definitely a good idea. And actually, it wasn't at a school; it was at the Greenway Park. I didn't specify that.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm wondering if like the playgrounds at the school and whether those are open now. I know Sexton Mountain, I think it was closed off at least a period during the summer. So whether those flat surfaces might be fair game.
Yeah, flat asphalt is what works best for sure. So the one that they used at Greenway Park is 2 half courts next to one another, but that doesn't mean that that's the only shape and size that works. So Jean, are you able to access the picture to share?
Oh, I can, yeah, I'll pull that up. I was just gonna say, I think, you know, Leah in her role as the Safe Routes to School coordinator and embedded, you know, she's embedded in the school district. She can be helpful in helping to find if there's a school property that would work. I think when we met today, I didn't necessarily hear her say that she's found additional sites. But I think there's an element too that, you know, we partnering with the school district means that we also get, you know, their staff, the 2 Safe Routes staff as resource to help. So, you know, in a way, we're an extra volunteer resource for them to help them kind of move that work forward. So
Okay.
there's definite interest on their part. And I think really for tonight, I mean, I think, you know, Michael and I had that initial conversation today with Leah, and she was just thrilled to know that there's interest in doing more outreach to the schools from this group. And she's definitely interested in partnering with us. You know, we were hearing from her, we were sort of sharing some of the ideas that bubbled up out of this group. And, you know, there are things that she definitely appreciated hearing from us and has ideas on how we might be able to help her work. So I think there's more conversation to come. And yeah. So I'll look for that map. Why don't we go to the next one? I'm realizing you can hear me, but my internet just dropped me, so I'm going to try to get back in. Am I back? Can you see
Your
me?
face, we see you, but we don't see your
hear
screen.
you.
Okay, you can hear me. Okay. Let's see, and let me go back to sharing my screen.
My short-term
And
memory
let's
doesn't
go
remember this
to,
item.
I know, I don't remember it either. Here we go. I think this is the right document. Yes. Oh, Caitlin. Caitlin had ride tech repair clinics, and Caitlin, you were going to look into repair fair schedules. Is anybody doing repair fairs or anything like that, or are they virtual or what?
Yeah,
What do you
so
know, Caitlin?
what about Portland? So Portland is doing outside repair events, but Beaverton is not. And so I talked to Elizabeth in the recycling program who helps out with those and said that I guess the city is having a hard time getting like any sort of event type thing approved for, you know, good reason. So I think if we want to work with them, it won't be soon. So she's interested. They said like they would love to have us at a repair fair, but they won't be happening until probably COVID is over. So maybe
Okay.
not a
And sorry.
possibility right now.
Okay. And Caitlin, who are you saying you spoke with who's not doing them until COVID's over?
The recycling program at the city.
Oh, okay. You cut out just as you were saying that at my end, so thanks. Okay. Okay. Okay, so that may be a wait until COVID item. Yeah, okay. We're gonna skip over John and the repair stations. We had a bunch of general outreach ideas. And, you know, we had talked about other ways to do outreach to promote cycling. I'm realizing I did other things, but I actually did not give you an update. I don't have an update for you on signage, on bikeway signage, so I'll add that to next time. I didn't bold it, I missed it. And then we talked about just other ways of distributing information. Anybody want to talk a little bit more about general outreach? Any thoughts on that?
I think, Gene, if I just know, I think, do you get the schedule as far as when articles need to be submitted for your city?
I do, and I feel like there was one that is coming out here soon. I feel like I just saw a draft. I'm gonna look for Kyung because maybe he's remembering seeing it.
Yeah, I think within November, December, the first drafts were already submitted.
Okay, so maybe we're looking for the first of the year. We can aim for an article then.
I mean, it might be possible to get something in the November, December issue. January, February issue, definitely still plenty of time for that.
Well, we can aim for the January, February, and I look back through, I have articles saved from years ago, so I can certainly look at those and refresh them, or if there's something specific we want to, as a group, try to highlight, then I can bring that up. Maybe as we start moving things forward with the safe routes to school, that could be something that we put in.
Okay. I'm going to put a note that we talk about this at the November and December meeting, because if it's October now and that issue's been like laid out and the content's been put together, so knowing that that's the November, December, I feel like stories must be probably written in September for the November issue. If I'm
thinking something later in October or November, calling for the ones for January, February, then we can get on it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Great. I'm gonna highlight that one. Okay, so next month, come with your ideas for what you might want to put in your city about something bike related in Beaverton. We may have things as well as staff, but I would love to have your ideas, and I think highlighting the work that you're doing would be a really great thing. So, okay. We'll talk about the bike map at a future meeting. Kyung, I can't remember when you were here last, but we had talked when we met in February about bike parking, like movies in the park and all these events that we do. So we have a big note here that says that's on hold until we have events. Do you have any, but in general, do you have any like events, news, anything we should be tracking or a way we can contribute?
I guess I don't have any firm dates or anything like that, but this idea of providing bicycle parking service, I think was an excellent thing and something that we definitely would have integrated this year for 2020. So let's definitely keep this idea on the board. As of now, we're not really like even I guess we're working on the 2021 schedule, but it's kind of up in the air as to like when we're actually going to have these big events again.
So Kyung, any thoughts as far as if we're hypothetically going to have Bike Beaverton, whether you want to still try to keep it in the spring time frame as we were hoping to do in 2020, or would there be interest in keeping in the fall with a greater chance of it actually occurring?
You know, it's going to be kind of too hard to tell right now. Okay. Yeah, like I think if we definitely can't do the May date because of current situations and stuff like that, we would definitely aim for that fall, so we don't miss it at all completely. But yeah, it's just so tricky to plan anything out.
Yes, much less 2021 versus next week. Okay. And then
no, there we go.
Yeah, Michael, you were gonna try to touch base with some like groups. Any luck?
Yeah, I've so a lot of what I've been doing is just sort of researching what is happening in nearby cities. I wasn't really familiar with programs in other cities, and I was kind of surprised that basically the only city with a BAC similar to ours is Portland. I think we discussed this at the time, but Tigard had a BAC that disbanded at the end of last year.
Okay.
Hillsborough has a very sort of utilitarian transportation committee that mostly comprises city councilors and not residents or non-elected people. And Lake Oswego has just a broad sort of transportation committee that doesn't have any particular focus on active transportation. So really the only game in town, and I'm sorry if my kitten's making noise, he's trying to get in the room, but the only game in town that's kind of similar to ours is Portland, and they have pretty large BAC, 21 members. They're still meeting regularly every month. I've had some kind of informal chats with one of the members, but nothing definitive or anything. So yeah, I'm not sure what next steps look like. I guess we can check in and see if we can sit in on a meeting, have a sort of slot in one of our future meetings to maybe get an update from a representative from Portland's BAC. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, well, and I just wanted to look back. Sorry, I have too many windows open at the moment. Hold on, here we go. Yeah, we had talked about having some kind of a gathering, some sort of a joint meeting or something. And, with COVID, it changes everything to being like this. So I'd say keep that idea open. And if there's interest in having me reach out to staff there, I know folks there as well. And if there's keen interest in that and in talking more, maybe we can think through an agenda as a group of what we'd want to share and discuss. If you haven't participated in their meeting ever, I'd recommend kind of checking out another group. It's always good to go interact with other folks and other committees in our region. So I am happy that I can go online. I can just share information with all of you. I can find their website and let you all know when they have a meeting. If you're at all curious to go and just observe. They're like us. They have guests and visitors too.
Very good.
Oh yeah.
Should we go on to John and the repair stations?
Okay, and before, can I just say one thing before we move on? Is it looks like Eric, who I think is here as a guest, has put in the link to the Multnomah County has a pedestrian and bicycle advisory committee. So they're also another group. Great, thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
Okay. Okay, let me save this. I'm gonna stop my sharing so I can see all your faces. Okay. Let's see. And before we close out of this, I'll just share this image of what the traffic safety playground looks like. So you can all see this is what Leah shared with us. This is actually from the slideshow that Leah and her team gave to City Council on Tuesday evening. They gave a presentation about the work that the Safe Routes to School program has been doing, and this is one of the things that she highlighted. So you can see here it's sort of taken over these two half courts, and there's road and crosswalks and a chance for for kids to practice taking turns onto a street, stopping, that sort of thing. So I'd love to see more as this is an opportunity for kids to get out and get some exercise while they're all doing their learning remotely at home. So.
Very cool.
Yeah. Okay. Repair stations.
So John has done the yeoman's work and has gone out and gotten some miles and taken a look at where the current repair stations are here in Beaverton. He's gotten some good pictures and has some great ideas of ways we might want to try to pursue this. And Jean's also been starting to do a little checking in. So John, why don't I turn it over to you and we can share that information and learn what you found.
All right, thanks for the intro. And as you may recall, at our last meeting, I took the action item to survey the existing bike tool stations in Beaverton and report what I found. And last week I rode around Beaverton and looked at the stations, some of them anyway, or most of them. And I don't know, Jean, did you forward that little report with the photos to the
I did.
Okay.
I did. I'll share. You want me to share it?
Not necessarily. I just wanted to make sure that everybody had a chance to read it, but you don't need to share it. I just wanted to start by saying I appreciate the feedback from Mike and Jean, as well as the inputs and observations from the folks at TriMet and the PSU. There was some really good feedback there, some of which I'll share. To summarize, there are 5 bike tool stations in Beaverton. There is one at Sunset Transit Center in the secure bike parking cage. There's one at the Beaverton Transit Center in the secure bike parking cage. There's one at Beaverton Woods, the so-called Nike stop, that is outside the bike cage and accessible to the public. There is one at the City Library, and there's one at the Whole Foods on Shoals Ferry. Further, there are bike tool stations at the PSU campus at 11 locations. 4 are inside a secure parking area, and 7 are publicly accessible. There's one at the Portland Zoo. There's one at the Whole Foods on Bridgeport Road. There, one at Bethany Pirate Park, Forest Grove B Street Trail, 5 locations in Hillsborough, mostly in the kind of the center core of the city there. One at Hag Lake, and additionally there are several in the downtown Portland area and on the east side. Just as a data point, the uninstalled cost for these stations is about $1,000 per station. You can actually buy them from a number of suppliers, but there is a distributor right here in Portland that makes them. And I think it would be a good idea for us to patronize them. there is an issue associated with vandalism. Some of the TriMet tool stations were originally located outside the secure bike parking areas and were moved inside because of vandalism. But they're only then available to people that patronize the parking facility, which kind of greatly, you know, I think they solved the vandalism problem, but they basically made them inaccessible to the large majority of bicycle riders. I think Ian Strudy, who's the Director of Transportation and Parking Services for Portland State, summed it up really well. And I'm just going to read his quote from the email chain that Jean forwarded. The positive message and support that comes from providing this type of amenity outweighs the maintenance cost. The key to a good outcome is a commitment to check on the stations frequently and keep them serviced. So in a nutshell, putting up some of these stations and making them available throughout Beaverton makes for much more appealing bike infrastructure here in Beaverton. It's not perhaps so much that everybody needs tools, because a lot of people like myself carry tools and levers to, you know, fix flats and so forth. But having them, there's an appealing element, a social element, I think, that is a great benefit to us. A few of us have weighed in on potential locations for bike tool stations in Beaverton. The Beaverton Fano Creek Trail, you know, for example, the Denny parking lot would be a great location for one. City Hall, the Power Line Trail, the library at Murray Hill, the new public safety building, city parks, for example, Eichler Park, where they have a little pump track there by the fire station, would be a good location for a bike tool station. Maybe at some of the fire stations, some of the schools, and that would tie to the Safe Routes to School program. Maybe at some of the police and sheriff substations around Beaverton and possibly some other locations. I was doing some additional research that I didn't include in my report about bike tool stations, and there are some really neat ideas. Some have put QR codes on the bike station, on the post, and you can use your phone to use the QR code and go right to a how to repair video, say on fixing a flat or dealing with the chain issue. Also, some are using the bike tool stations as message boards. So we could put up maybe upcoming events or other information that could promote biking. And then of course, you know, I thought of maybe dedicating one to Adrian. You know, it's our post, and I think we ought to, you know, feel or have an opportunity maybe to use that to promote bicycling and send messages that we want to send. So I'm really encouraged by the supportive dialogue from the people at PSU and TriMet, and I really appreciate what TriMet's done so far. I think Beaverton ought to have more than one or two working bike tool stations. And I think this is something that, as a bicycle advisory committee, we could hang our hat on. It's something very positive that we could do for pretty low cost, but I think we need to take ownership for keeping an eye on these stations, and if they're vandalized, and they will be vandalized, we need to have, you know, responsibility for tracking them and reporting and getting them, you know, put back in working order. So that's the gist of it. I don't know what the next steps are. You know, we need to find out if we can get some money to put a couple of these up, and we need to put some thought into, you know, where they're located.
Thanks so much, John.
You're welcome.
So real quickly, Bruce, I just was curious as you were listening to this with the trail system, is that something that THPRD has considered, or would there be interest in some partnership or?
Yeah, I think it's a great partnership. John mentioned one that we have, which was put in a few years ago, sort of an experiment. I don't see a ton of people using it, but I totally agree with the idea that especially for beginning bicyclists, I think it creates a sense of comfort and safety. Like, oh, if my bike breaks, you know, there's that thing right there. I might be able to use it. And that's really wonderful. And then for the other cyclists, like, hey, if you need it, there it is. So yeah, I mean, and I agree. I think someplace like Greenway Park or somewhere along the Fennel Creek Trail would be really wonderful because we get a lot of cyclists and we could also maintain it, and it might be a great partnership between us.
Okay. Yeah, that's one of my thoughts. Is just since there has been such an influx of people coming into cycling during COVID that may not necessarily have the history of working on bikes or things like that, and we want to try to lower the resistance to continuing to cycle when life may start to shift back to somewhat normal, is having those things that are really helping people to embrace it. That would be kind of neat. Any other thoughts, comments on locations? And Amy, sure, chime on in if you have any input. We'd love to hear it.
I don't have anything so far, but
okay.
I really enjoyed what kind of what you're talking about with the Beaverton School District and those projects. I think that'll be really helpful for young students to like be able to exercise outside more and learn kind of all of the biking rules and everything. So I'm all for that project, and I really hope that works out really well. If there's anything I can do to help out with that, just let me know. I don't really know at this point. I could probably do some research on videos and stuff like that, but yeah, just let me know.
Okay.
So I'll chime in a little bit. Just John, I think you ended with you're not sure what the next steps are. Right, you have a long list of locations, but I did reach out to our operations division and public works. I've not yet had a chance to connect with the staff person there, who I think is the one who knows about the bike tool station. Particularly asked about the one in front of the library. I think there's an element of cost, sort of the upfront capital cost to purchase them, and I think there's a need to hear from operations in terms of how are they maintaining the ones that we do have that they're responsible for, and what feedback do they have on them. I think before we forge ahead with a plan to get funding to put more in place, we'll need to reach out to them and include them in that decision making. I think we've got a great list of possible locations, and I'd almost want to see if there was a group of folks here that wanted to do some more work on this and have some follow-up around kind of maybe getting a little more specific in terms of criteria to help us sort of figure out which ones are the best locations and why. I think starting with sort of the uses themselves, the places that they serve is great. But I think even beyond that, we need to start to really look closer at like where's the site and which are the ones that, who's going to maintain it. I think that's a big, important question to answer. Bruce, it's great to hear that you like the idea. I like the idea too. I know for both of our agencies, we always have that maintenance question to answer.
Yeah,
as
I
much
would
as
say
we're,
for us,
supportive. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Maintenance is important. I also found, as far as I know, it's been pretty easy for the crews to take care of this. The one piece that's always hard to keep going is the pump. But unless someone really monkeys with the tools, most of them are pretty solid, and that's the thing that we can know is going to be an ongoing item that's there. So.
Yeah, great. Okay. So I might suggest that maybe there's a sort of a THPRD specific conversation, and we can, you know, kind of work through Bruce. And then there's sort of a City of Beaverton specific conversation, and I'm happy to kind of help navigate us through that. So maybe, John, what we need tonight is folks who want to specifically volunteer on this issue. And I'm imagining, you know, there'll be probably maybe some field work to get out on your bike and go check out sites. Maybe there's some virtual meetings we can do. You can actually see a lot in Google Street View and maps online to help us think about particular locations. Does that sound like a sort of a good next step to kind of pull together a group and then kind of craft a plan for doing that outreach?
I think so, and I would be happy to try to participate some with that. I'm also curious with partnerships is with Beaverton schools, if there would be some coming together with the safe routes of school, and then if there was at some of the schools having a station, and that's something that could be incorporated into the curriculum and help with the instruction. The other one I think of is Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue. If there's the openness to having those at some of the fire stations, and people would kind of be able to associate fire station, I can also rescue my bike kind of thing.
I like that idea. Okay, all good ideas. So we've got John and we've got Mike, and I'm going to go back to sharing my screen because I'm using it to take these notes. I think it's this one. Anybody else interested in this project? This as a project?
Don't be shy.
Okay, so we have John and Mike.
Okay.
Morgan. Great. Okay. Great. John, thank you again for all your work to go around and get that information. It was great to see your report.
Thank you.
Okay. So I think we covered everything in all these reports. I'll stop sharing there. And I'll share this back with you guys after this evening, so you've got those notes right away. Where are we on our agenda?
So that's for the City of Beaverton updates.
Wow,
and
we're just cruising along. Okay, and I'm going to ask Meghan, we haven't had Councilor Beaty yet. Nope. Okay, and I've not heard back from her. Okay, one of my updates I mentioned just briefly earlier, but we did have a City Council heard a presentation from the Beaverton School District Safe Routes to Schools program, and Michael mentioned a little bit of what they're doing, but they've really shifted their efforts this year to remote programs. Just yesterday was International Walk and Roll to Anywhere Day. If you follow Beaverton School District on social media, you will have seen that there are lots of pictures of kids out walking and biking, sharing why they ride or roll. It was a great campaign, but they've really taken made the focus of their work with the pandemic and with remote learning really to be on finding ways for families to get out and get active you know, while they're at home. So I encourage you all to check that out. If you want to learn more about what they're doing, you can watch the council presentation. It was maybe, you know, 10 or 15 minutes, so not a lot of time if you want to go back and watch that. And then I shared with you a couple other city updates via email, but I'll just share them here again. The city is now hiring for our interim city manager to support the new city charter implementation and also the regular city manager recruitment. So on January 1st, the city will transition from a mayor-council to a council-city manager form of government as a result of the voter-approved charter changes from the May 2020 election. So the interim city manager will be appointed in the fall by city council. That person will report to the council as well as provide administrative direction and support city initiatives and really leadership to all city departments. The interim city manager, this position will serve as Beaverton's first city manager and will serve for approximately 6 months to include the recruitment, selection, and early onboarding of the city manager. So applications are currently being accepted electronically by the Novak Consulting Group. There's a link on the city's website. That position is going to be open until filled. Looks like the first round of review of applications is next week on October 15th, and that person's expected to start on January 1st. So changes here at City of Beaverton. And then the other item I shared was the virtual Fall Voters Forum. That's coming up next week on Wednesday, October 14th at 7 p.m. So they're a great way to learn about the candidates and an opportunity to hear directly about issues. The forum is presented by the Beaverton Committee for Community Involvement, another board and commission like you all. So it'll be broadcast live online at beavertonoregon.gov/votersforum and on 12 and Valley Community Television and on channels 30 in English and 28 in Spanish. So the featured races include Beaverton Mayor, Beaverton City Council Position 6. It's a new position that was created as part of the city charter, and then also Washington County Commission District 1. Looks like yesterday was the cutoff for questions to be submitted in advance that would be directed to all the candidates. So it was open for questions to all the candidates. So those are two things that I shared with you and I wanted to just share again. I don't think I have any other city updates. On the recruitment front, I can tell you that we received applications. 9 individuals expressed interest in joining the Bike Advisory Committee. We have 2 folks whose terms are expiring this year. One is our esteemed chair, Mike Mulligan. And then the other is Kara, who is here as our alternate. Alternate positions always serve a 1-year term. All of the rest of you are here in 3-year terms. So I have reached out to Amanda, and as our vice chair, she's going to sit with me on interviews with all those folks, and we're going to learn more about them. And we have 2 regular positions to fill. So the position that Mike is currently in, as well as the position that's been left vacant with Adrian's passing. So we have those 2 positions and then alternate positions as well. So I should be back here next month, looking at my calendar. I have to make a decision by the end of this month for the folks that will advance for appointment by City Council, and those new folks will start at our January meeting. So a little bit of time for interviews now, and then at a meeting in December, the City Council is expected to appoint and fill all of the positions on all the boards and commissions. So overall, the city received a little over 100 applications across all the boards and commissions. So we had a really great turnout, kind of despite COVID. People are really interested in what's happening in Beaverton, and they want to engage and be involved directly as residents. So I think that's just a great response that we saw. And kudos to all of you. You all got a good reply and response from folks who want to do more to help promote cycling in Beaverton. So any questions on that, on the recruitment front? No? Okay, great. I think last year we had a lot of new people. I think a lot of you are this year in your first year this is like the year that has far fewer positions to fill. So, okay, great. Okay, well, we are way ahead of schedule at 7:52. Member comments and announcements. Got a lot of time to talk. Folks have things to share.
I was going to ask Corey, do you have any TriMet updates or anything of interest from your world that would be pertinent?
Oh, good question. I don't really have much in the Beaverton area, but the project that I work on is the Red Line Extension and Reliability Project. And so actually we'll be extending max service, Red Line max service out to Fairplex as part of that project in the future. But kind of tangentially and somewhat related to my project is that City of Portland Parks Department is revamping the Gateway Green Park, kind of in the Gateway area. So if anybody is into mountain biking, that's kind of one of the better spots in the urban area to do that. So that project is ongoing with City of Portland Parks.
Corey, I'd like to ask you about the bike tool stations that are inside the secure parking area. TriMet has 3 locations where there are bike tool stations. The Beaverton Woods Station, the post is outside the secure parking. And but at the other 2 locations in Beaverton and Sunset, they're inside now. What, I know why they were moved inside and they started out outside the cage and then were moved inside due to vandalism, but that almost seems penny wise and pound foolish to me. Would it be a major big deal to try again and make those stations, put those stations back outside those secure areas?
That's a good question. You know, I don't know that I'm the right person to answer that. It might be Jeff Owen or I'm just drawing a blank on the other name at this moment, but you know, I think they're probably better equipped to address that. Essentially, like the email thread said, you know, it's about the maintenance, especially these days with revenue challenges amongst the agency and amongst all public agencies right now. You know, there probably isn't much opportunity to do that, but maybe in the future.
So how would, if we wanted to pursue that, or if I wanted to pursue that, is Jeff Owen the right person, or could you get back to me and let me know who the right person would be to have this dialogue?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I won't do anything until I hear from you, and Mike certainly and I will work together on this. I won't, you know, go off road, but that seems to me that would be a really good first step to take, is to get those stations outside of those cages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, we are moving our system towards using hot passes for people to access the stations. I honestly am not 100% sure of the status of that effort right now, but in the future, when people sign up for hot passes and register with TriMet, they'll be able to get inside those bike stations and have access to the tools.
So yeah, it may not be simply to somebody that's signed up strictly for being able to use the cage. It's going to be across all riders that are using those hot passes.
They will, my understanding is, for anybody to access the bike cage, they will have to register with TriMet specifically to access the cages. But if you are on a bike and you're going to the transit center, you know, maybe that's another incentive to register, use our secure bike parking to facilitate your trip.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Corey.
Anybody else have things of interest that you want to share? Things you want to see us be doing?
Well, one thing I'll just share one thing. Looking ahead to next meeting, there is a new project that my team has been working on. It's called the Downtown Loop. It's a project that's kind of evolved out of the Downtown Design Project. I think we'll be ready next month to come and talk with you about that. It's essentially a project along Hall and Watson through downtown Beaverton, essentially from sort of Crescent Street, which is where Hall and Watson kind of come together or, you know, converge apart, right there by the new Patricia Research Center for the Arts, all the way down to 5th. And we'll be looking at how to make those streets really safer and more comfortable for people walking and biking and taking transit. So it'll be a project that we'll want to get all of your input on. We know that biking through downtown Beaverton can be a challenge, particularly on Hall and Watson. So it's a new project. We're just about to start that planning work here this fall, and it will lead to future capital projects to improve the sidewalks and bike facilities along Hall and Watson. So I think we'll be here to share that with you all next month. So, it'll be fun.
Quick curiosity question: with the temporary seating that's on Watson, just south of Farmington, is that something that's going to continue a little bit later into the fall, or what's the thought as far as that temporary seating for those restaurants?
Yeah, I think the thought is that we'd like those to continue. I haven't heard if it's been officially approved. And Kyung, I don't know if you know, I think we had approval through the end of October, and I think we're working towards extending that into the winter.
Yeah, from last I've heard, it looks like it has been extended through the winter.
Neat.
So it looks like it's there to stay for a bit.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Ways of transforming our streets downtown. It's kind of exciting. If you haven't been downtown, there's the First Street Dining Commons, which is first between Watson and Washington. We have closed the street to vehicles and opened it up for people. And it's a space that we've made available so you can get your takeout at the nearby restaurants and have a place to go sit and eat and gather with your friends and family in a safe way. And then if you've been downtown, you'll also see that some of the restaurants have taken over the parking that's just adjacent to their storefront and made outdoor dining spaces there. So be sure to visit those folks. They're all eager to see you and serve you delicious food.
Wonderful.
I had one thing. We made T-shirts for the board, not T-shirts, but actual collared shirts for the board. And they're just kind of sitting in storage, and I'm wondering what's the best way I could get it to all of you.
Maybe for some of us the ride, and maybe for the rest of us we can just mail it.
Yeah, I could definitely just mail them out. So let me see if I can get some prepared for the Saturday ride. I won't be in town, so I'll have to try to coordinate, see if I can get that dropped off to you beforehand. But yes, like I really want to get those shirts all to you. So.
Yeah, Kyung, you and I can talk, and we can figure out, you can leave things for me in the office, right? Okay.
Perfect.
Great. Okay.
Terrific. Well, Amy, again, welcome to the committee. If there's anything happening with the Youth Advisory Board, that please bring that and share that with us, because it'd be great to know what's happening on other boards and your perspective on what's happening in the city. And Gara, it's good to see you back. I hope everything went well with your National Guard duty with the fires.
It did. Yeah, we ended up only being out there 11 days, so that was good to come back. And well, the reason we came back early is because the weather changed and the outlook for all the fires got better. So it was good for everybody.
That's great. Again, thanks so much for doing that. We all appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for the support.
Israel, again, sorry I didn't see you at the beginning. I had a little list on the side and I
No
didn't see a
worries.
name, and out of sight, out of mind.
No worries at all.
All right, Jean, anything else you think we need to cover, or I think we're good?
I don't think so. I think we're good.
All right, well, I'm happy to give you an early arrival at 8:03 to the end of the meeting. Thanks again for everybody for joining us, and we will plan to see you in November. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording.
Perfect.
Great. Thanks, Megan.
Thank you again, Megan.